What's going on, everybody? It is the 33rd episode of the MMA Roundtable, May 30th, 2013. We had a wild card in UFC 160 this past weekend. Gonna break that down. You had the heavyweights, Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos, with incredible finishes. They will be fighting each other in a heavyweight fight. Also, the week of MMA. As usual, the bonehead of the week. Guess that tweet. Jay isn't here, so he can't cheat. Let's do it. And once again, thank you for tuning in to the MMA Roundtable. It is myself, Ramses from the Word on the Street, Ray from MMA Mental, and Eric, the MMA Troll. Ray, what is going on with MMA Mental? You had a crazy weekend. You had a fucking mental weekend, man. Tell us what is going on with you.
Yeah, I had a great weekend. I flew out to Ireland and provide as part of the commentary team for Cage Contender, which is the biggest promotion in Ireland. It was pre-recorded for TV as well, so I managed to get my pretty face on telly. That'll be out tomorrow, which is exciting. And then on Sunday, I went to another mixed martial event, it's a local event, and I interviewed Ian Freeman in the cage, talking about his upcoming fight with Ken Shamrock. So that was pretty cool as well.
Hell yeah, MMA Mental, you're getting mass interviews. Ray himself is starting to really turn into one of the biggest names in MMA in the UK. So don't sleep on my man Sugar Ray Thompson. Ramses, what is the word on the street? You got a big interview coming up Friday. How can we find the Word on the Street podcast, cocksucker?
Yeah, tomorrow we're going to have a breakthrough interview with the legendary MMA fighter known as Bob Sapp. He's going to talk truth about, well, working fights and dives, the truth about the MMA business, really. He's just going to have some bombshells. It's going to be a great interview. I'm looking very much forward to it. If you want to know how to fucking listen to the show and your life changed, you're going to follow me on Twitter, The Ant Jimmy Show. Do it.
And if you've been listening to the Roundtable for a while, you know that we got a new voice on the show. Last week, he was on the show, laid down a solid debut performance. He's back for more. It's Eric from the MMA Troll. How can we find you on Twitter? How can we follow the MMA Troll on Facebook?
Yeah, back again. Just look me up on the MMA Troll on Facebook if you want a healthy dose of trolling as well as, mixed martial arts news, live coverage of fights. Also look me up on Twitter. I'm at Rico, R-I-C-O, MMA 1990. And also, if you haven't heard me on the podcast before, check out MMAlinker.com for all your news and videos, whatever you may want.
Hell yeah, and don't forget to follow the MMA Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at the MMA Podcast, themmapodcast.com. We do the Roundtable every Thursday, 5 to 7 Eastern, 2 to 4 Pacific. That's 10 to midnight if you're in the UK. And also the MMA Podcast, that's an hour later on Fridays at 6 o'clock Eastern. We got a big June lined up. We don't have anyone on the show tomorrow, but in the coming weeks, we got Adam Hunter, a.k.a. MMA Roasted, coming on, Sam Cecilia. I'm going to lock down stuff with that cocksucker Joey Diaz, finally get him on the show. I've been giving him enough time. I know you had a baby, but it's been 5 months, cocksucker, and I'm going to wrangle you on the show. So yeah, definitely follow us, listen to all the podcasts, and of course visit MMAVictor.com. Let your voice be heard on the forums. They got a pretty good forum, and also join in the picking games if you think you know your MMA shit. Whether you want to bet $0, $1, or $100, MMA Victor has what you're looking for. So do it up. And this past weekend, UFC 160, that's what everybody's been talking about. Some fights have been scheduled. Like I mentioned, the Trilogy and the Cain JDS fight. We'll talk about that later. We'll talk about the prelims. But before we get into the fights themselves, what was your favorite moment of UFC 160? Personally, mine was Junior Dos Santos, a guy we didn't really think had many kickboxing capabilities. He was just mainly a boxer, throwing some crazy spinning back kick. It wasn't the prettiest, but the kick landed, and it dropped Mark Hunt and finished the fight. That was my favorite moment. What were your favorite moments of the card?
There was some crazy moments on the card. It was a really, really good card. I think the biggest moment that got me out of my seat and screaming at the TV, and as much as that kick was epic, my moment has to go to TJ Grant. I mean, I had him picked to win just because of how good he looked against Wyman and Dunham. But it's fair to say that Gray Maynard was a huge step up in competition. We've seen Gray Maynard go 5 rounds with Frankie Edgar and get knocked out in the 5th round in the last fight. We've never seen him get smashed the way that TJ Grant smashed him. I mean, it was elbows, it was punches, and in the end, the ref just stepped in and pulled Grant off because Maynard was getting destroyed. That personally was my favourite moment.
Well, this one's pretty easy for me, people. I will confess, I'm supposed to be the MMA oracle of sorts, but I fell asleep during UFC 160. But I will confess, my favorite part was seeing Colton Smith get knocked out and then immediately try to protest as if he wasn't getting his ass whooped to high hell. Colton Smith, you had it coming. He defeated you with the craziest one-armed tactic I've ever seen. God bless everybody. Word on the street. What's up, troll? MMA troll, what's happening?
For me, I'm going to go with an undercard fight. I have to say, Jeremy Stephens turning, Esteban Payan into just everything that surrounds the word bloodbath. That was probably one of the bloodiest fights I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, there was a ton of blood. I liked all of those moments, and we will get into the fights individually. Really quick to recap the prelims at UFC 160, which there were, especially compared to recent cards, this was an impressive prelim for sure. All right, the prelims, you had the Facebook, of course. I actually said all of these were going to be one-sided beatdowns. Not all of them were. 5 went to the judges' scorecard, but I did go 5-2 on my prelim picks. In the preliminary card, Jeremy Stephens defeated Esteban Payan by unanimous decision. Roop over Brian Bowles in a surprising TKO. In the second round, Stephen Thompson defeating Nishan Varel via unanimous decision on FX. Khabib Nurmagomedov defeats Abel Trujillo 20-37 across the board. Robert Whittaker defeating Colton Smith via TKO, which I think a lot of people were pleased with. Colton Smith being the kind of hated fighter on Tough who went for that BS fake glove tap takedown technique. He got TKO in the third round. And then the main and co-main of the FX both went to split decision, both by the same means, 29-28, 28-29, 29-28. Mike Pyle and Dennis Bermudez defeating Rick Story and Max Holloway, respectively. Out of those prelim fights, which one was your favorite, or which one stood out to you the most? For me, it was actually Robert Whittaker over Colton Smith. I thought Colton was going to be able to use his wrestling and get over it. Get over Robert, and it was really nice to see Colton get knocked the fuck out, like I mentioned earlier, just a minute into the third round. Ramses, what was your favorite moment?
Hands down, that Jeremy Stephens versus whoever that bum was, that bloodbath, people. That was awesome. It was Saw-like. It definitely topped Kane versus Bigfoot Silva Part 1. There are rumors going around that it was some type of Illuminati ritual sacrifice, some blood sacrifice that went down in the 8-sided octagon. I don't really get into that sort of shit. But I do want to say I have to call bullshit because that fight should have been stopped due to the massive amount of blood loss. There is a precedent for this. They fucked Eve Edwards, my Thug Jitsu master, one time when he fought Jeremy Stephens at UFC 61. They fucked Eve because they stopped the fight saying the doctor stopped it not because the cut was in a weird place, not because he couldn't see. The doctor stopped the fight because he claimed he had lost too much blood. Some sort of amount of cc's or something. If you read Big John McCarthy's book, he goes into detail about that because it was bullshit. So why wasn't this fight stopped? That man lost more blood than Eve's did in that fight. It is bullshit. That's the word on the street. What's up, troll?
Got to somewhat agree with you there, Ramses. But for my favorite fight on the prelims, it had to go to Dennis Bermudez and Max Holloway. They just put on an absolute battle, with Holloway landing a beautiful spinning back kick to the jaw of Bermudez in the first round. Bermudez has, he's got some whiskers on him, man. He can take a hell of a shot, and coming back and still in the split decision, or actually I believe it was a unanimous decision. I can't really recall. But yeah, that has to be my favorite prelim on the card.
Ray?
The prelims, I thought the prelims were really good. There was some really, really exciting prelims. Because I was away, I didn't get to watch any of the Facebook fights. So I haven't actually seen the Jeremy Stephens fight. So I might need someone to get me a link to that so I can watch that. But out of the prelims that I did watch, there's only two I missed, which was the Stephens fight and the Thompson-Burrell fight. I thought Pyle and Story should have been fight of the night. I thought it was a great fight, really back and forth. I thought Story clearly won round 1 and Pyle really clearly won round 3. Second round was razor thin. Obviously, Story was on top a lot, but Pyle had that Kimura that looked pretty tight. I thought that was a really, really good fight. So as I thought that the fight of the night, that was my favourite fight on the prelims.
Definitely. The prelims, like I mentioned, 7 fights. None of them really were that disappointing. They all featured some notable names, but let's get straight into the main card. Starting off with Donald Cerrone defeating KJ Nunes. You saw that after that unanimous judge's nod, Cerrone was beating Nunes up so hard on the ground via ground and pound, he opened up a pretty significant gash on his own elbow that was pretty disgusting looking, but Cowboy was the favorite in this fight and did move on to defeat KJ Nunes. What did you guys think of the fight, and who do you think is next for the Cowboy, Donald Cerrone? Troll?
I thought it was a really good fight. It went down about the way I expected it to. KJ is known primarily as a boxer, even though he did show that he has definitely been working on his kicking game. In that fight, he came out the first round and was throwing leg kick after leg kick, body kick, head kick, whatever. But yeah, it went down the way I expected it to, with Cerrone getting the better of it and even getting some takedowns. But the gash on his elbow was just nasty. It just looked like how did Joe Rogan put it, a goat's vagina.
Yep.
During the Marvin Eastman fight and Vitor Belfort. But yeah, who's next for Cerrone? I've heard talk about maybe Josh Thompson. And I think that would probably be a good fight to make right now because, both of them coming off a win. And, hell, I'd like to see it.
I thought it was a good fight. It went the way I expected. I thought Cerrone was going to win. I had Cerrone to win by decision. Nunes is so tougher. That's why I didn't think Cerrone would get the stoppage, because of how durable Nunes is. And you can't sleep on Nunes. I mean, this is the guy that outboxed Nick Diaz, and not many people have to do that. So you definitely can't sleep on KJ Nunes. But Donald Cerrone is a better fighter, and for the most part has faced the upper tier competition, which is why I thought he would do well. Who next to Donald Cerrone? I like the idea of Cerrone versus Thompson. I think that would be a great fight. Also possibly Cerrone versus Healy, who we know obviously is in a bit of bother because of the cannabis, or maybe Jim Miller. That's the kind of level of opponent I think Cerrone needs to face, though. Someone in and around the top 10. But any of those fights that I just mentioned, I'd be excited for.
Oh, man, I got to say, it's probably Donald Cerrone. The Cowboy's probably at gatekeeper status at this point. Yeah, I am glad that he beat KJ Nunes because he needed that confidence boost coming out of that embarrassing destruction at the hands of Tony Pettis, man. Showtime destroyed this man. I wouldn't have been surprised if he'd retired at that point, man. It was an embarrassing ass whooping. So that just shows you, man, Cowboy Cerrone, he is not on the title fighting level at this point. I don't know if he can get there. I think he's going to be a gatekeeper. So what's next for him? Whoever's en route to the title. It's not going to be him, though. That's the word.
A fighter no one brought up that I think would make a lot of sense. We know the UFC likes to put guys who won in their last fight against other guys who won. How about both guys who won on the same card? I like to see Donald Cerrone fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. The guy's undefeated. It's about time he get a decent opponent. He has beaten Gleison Tibau, Thiago Tavares, Kamal Shalorus, Abel Trujillo now at UFC 160. But none of those guys are really at the level of Donald Cerrone, and I think it's about high time that we give Khabib a shot. The guy's never lost in his career. Let's see what he can do. Moving on, we got TJ Grant defeating Gray Maynard and earning himself a title shot, knocking out Gray Maynard via TKO 2 minutes into the first round. TJ Grant, like Ray was mentioning before, looked extremely inspired. He, most of us were picking Maynard. Grant was the underdog, and Grant impressed us and impressed Dana White enough to get himself a title shot against Benson Henderson. I don't know if a date has been locked down for that, but it was a title eliminator, and we will see the Canadian Grant try and become the second Canadian UFC champion after George St. Pierre. I think he's the only Canadian champ so far, right? Anybody?
Going off memory, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think he would be the second. But
yeah.
what did you guys think of the fight, and what do you think of this title fight between Benson Henderson and TJ Grant?
The fight was absolutely amazing. It was clearly TJ Grant was one of the standouts on the card. I know we have bonuses for knockout, submission, and fight of the night. Ironically, Mike Tyson pushed for TJ Grant to get knockout of the night, and he actually won it. But they never did a fighter of the night. So which fighter impressed you the most? Which showed you the most heart? Had the biggest win? Whatever reason you thought was fit. For me, if there was a fighter of the night, the fighter of that night would have been TJ Grant, because it wasn't just the fact he beat Gray Maynard. And I've said this before, it's not always how you beat someone. It's not the fact you beat someone, it's how you beat them. The way he beat Gray Maynard with his striking, his elbows, his punches, it was amazing to watch. I mean, he literally smashed Gray Maynard. And Gray Maynard, going into that fight, I think was ranked number 3 in the world. You don't dominate and smash someone who's ranked number 3 in the world unless you're ranked number 1. TJ Grant was ranked number 5. You know, he's taken himself up the ladder, and rightly so. He will now be the number 1 contender. Now, him versus Benson, here's what's interesting in this fight. I mean, I'm a big fan of Benson. I know some people on here don't necessarily like him, and they don't like the fact he doesn't finish his fights. But I'm a big fan of Benson. I think he's very good at what he does. But with him not being a finisher, which is something we've seen so far in the UFC, and with TJ being a finisher, with the fact he's got amazing jiu-jitsu and is probably showing himself to have the best stand-up, I think, in the lightweight division, I think he's a very, very dangerous opponent for Benson, and I actually think he could become the next UFC lightweight champion.
Look, man, I hate to... This is going to be hard to believe, but unless you've gone through this yourself, you'll never understand. Look, Gray Maynard, I believe he lost that fight because he knew his dog was about to die, right, people? I'm going with that. That's the excuse. It's hard times for Gray Maynard right now. Who knows if he has the heart left in it anymore. It's sad to see. That was a sad performance. I hope he just, pulls some Rocky 3 type shit and rallies and comes back one more time just to go for it one more time. Otherwise, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I think Gray Maynard's on his way out. That's what I think, man.
I'll have to agree with Ramses there. It was kind of a bittersweet moment for me because I'm a fan of both guys. And hearing Gray Maynard talk like before or after the Clay Guida fight, saying that he was pondering retirement, had he lost that fight. Now coming in, for a potential number 1 contender spot and getting knocked out in the first round, I don't know if he'll be coming back or not. But I would like to see him, just go out there and put it down one more time. Try to make one last run at the title. But yeah, I mean, TJ Grant has to be like Ray said, has to be like the fighter of the night. If there was such a title. But when he came out there and just finished him in the first round after he got cracked a couple times by Gray with the right hand. And, he showed a really good chin. As for the Benson fight, I think he, along with Ray, I think he does stand, a pretty good chance against Ben Henderson. If he can come out and really push the pace and the striking, make some work, I think he can pull away a decision there.
Definitely, and sorry if anybody asked me anything during that break. Apparently it was recording and streaming the whole time, but I couldn't hear anything for about 2 minutes there. Moving on, though, we'll move to the Glover... I guess I'll throw out my thoughts for the fight. Grant, Benson. I really like Grant, and the guy's got a lot of heart, but Benson he is a puzzle that is yet to be solved yet. Gilbert came close. If TJ Grant can sort of put together that same sort of strategy, which I think he could, he really could cause problems for Benson Henderson. Light heavyweights, Glover Teixeira defeating James Tehuna via first-round guillotine choke. What do you think of the fight? What is next for Glover? Do we give him that top 5 shot How close is he to a title fight?
Yeah, this fight, Glover, good job. He actually was allowed to just put this man on blast. Much unlike his last fight against Rampage. This just proves my theory that he purposely held back, pulled his punches on Rampage, didn't go full force. It was just a little charity work there. This is the real Glover. If he keeps his shit up, he's going straight for the fucking title. And, what is it, 19, 20 wins in a row? God bless him. That's all I got to say.
I got to agree with Ramsey there. I mean, he came out and just put on, clinic, pretty much exactly how most people, saw it happening. Tahuna, I don't really know how much further he's gonna go in the UFC. I don't even really think he is at gatekeeper status, really. But, Glover came out, submitted him, first round guillotine choke. Yeah, he's got to be headed towards the top of the pack right now. And if he keeps this up, just keeps improving, looking better each fight, I think he could cause John Jones some problems if Jones is champ at the time. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
I think Glover needs to step up in competition. The Rampage fight wasn't very good, but he was fighting a Rampage who didn't seem that much interested in taking the fight and was already talking about what he's going to be doing once he left the UFC. James Tahuna is a very tough guy, but Glover's on a whole different league to James, and it's shown in the fight. As good as James Tahuna is at striking, Glover Teixeira matches that. On top of that, his ground game is, well, James Tahuna doesn't really have a ground game, and obviously Glover Teixeira has a very good ground game. So it was a very easy for Glover. So I don't think we learned too much from that. It's now time for him to step up in competition and fight somebody who's relevant. We've got two big light heavyweight fights coming up soon on the UFC 160 card. We've got Evans versus Henderson, and we've got Little Nog versus Shogun. I think Glover needs to face the winner of one of those fights, either maybe the winner of Little Nog and Shogun. And then if he wins that, I'd say he should be in line for a title. But he needs to be a top guy, a top five guy. At the minute, he's not fought anyone that's worthwhile. Carl Kingsbury's not very good. Rampage was disinterested. James Tahuna's, like Eric said, he's not even a gatekeeper, so he needs to fight a better opposition.
I was actually just about to say the same exact thing, Ray. Shogun versus Little Nog. I want to see him fight the winner of that. How good would a fight between Shogun and Glover be? Shogun, it seems like every fight he's in is a goddamn war. And Glover would definitely pose him some problems. Both of them would. I mean, both of them are known to be vicious strikers, so that'd be a dream matchup. Talk about a couple guys who are vicious strikers, Junior Dos Santos and Mark Hunt. Jesus Christ, these guys are pretty much accepted to be the hardest hitters in the heavyweight division. Mark Hunt, he'll crack your jaw into two pieces like he did Stefan Struve. Junior Dos Santos, obviously known to have some of the crispest boxing. A lot of people think he is Cain Velasquez's biggest challenge for the belt. He took it from him once before Cain came back and beat him around for 25 minutes to take it back. This went into the third round. Junior Dos Santos had won the first two. Crisp boxing, and out of nowhere, he isn't even a guy who's known for head kicks, and he throws this spinning heel kick that connects, drops Hunt, and ends the fight in the third round. What did you think of the fight? We know what's next for Junior, and we will talk about Junior versus Cain 3 after we talk about Cain versus Bigfoot. But what did you think of the fight, and what is next for the Super Samoan Mark Hunt? Eric?
Absolutely amazing fight. I don't think anybody came in and predicted Junior to knock Mark Hunt out with a spinning wheel kick. I've seen a few people maybe taking a stoppage, TKO over Hunt, but nobody predicted him to come in, and go to war with him and then knock him out with a spinning heel kick in the third round. I mean, nobody saw that happening, and that's really impressive for a guy that's 6'4", 240 pounds or so. It's really impressive. As for Mark Hunt, I really hope he sticks around. I know he's pushing 40. He's getting up there in age, up there in time spent in the cage, But I hope he sticks around. He's still got some fight left in him, and I'd like to see him maybe take on. It would be a good fight for him. Maybe the loser of Big Nog and Verdum, or maybe somebody a little lower on the ladder. Maybe like I would personally absolutely love to see him and Roy Nelson fight. I think that would be just a completely badass fight. But yeah, I hope he sticks around the sport.
This was a good fight. I mean, JDS really showed his worth because Mark Hunt is a world-class striker. I mean, this guy has done it outside of the UFC in pure striking arts, obviously K1. And it's fair to say the level of striking K1 is higher than the level of striking in the UFC, just because UFC focuses on more than one area. K1 focuses just on the kickboxing. So I think most people would agree that K1 level striking is higher, and Mark Hunt has been success in that and has won K1 tournaments and is facing with the best fighters in the world. And he comes in against JDS, and JDS was just quicker off the mark. And like I say, he was cruising to a decision win. I think there's no doubt he was going to get the decision, but that kick was just epic. What is it with Brazilians and spinning back kicks? Well, Edson Barboza, he pulls it out of nowhere, the first one we've seen it. I don't think we ever really expect to see it again. It was mental. Then, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, Balfour then does it, and that's after he head kicked Bisbee. He then does it against Rockhold, and now we've got JDS doing it. What are they feeding these Brazilians? It's just crazy. And don't say TRT. As for Mark Hunt next, I don't think he's ready to quit yet, because at the end of the day, he's lost one fight, but up to that fight, he'd had some amazing fights. His fight with Struve was unbelievable. It was just a classic throwback fight. But for next, I like the idea of Roy Nelson. I know Roy Nelson's got a fight up with Stipe next. I think he'll smash Stipe personally, so I'd like to see Roy Nelson and Mark Hunt fight. I think they're two of the biggest knockout artists in the UFC heavyweight division, so I'd definitely be up for. I think that'd be a great fight.
Yeah, listen, this fight was a no-brainer. Mark Hunt never stood a goddamn chance, people. Listen here, mark my words. Junior Dos Santos is the greatest technical heavyweight striker and fighter that there is today. Hands down, he can whoop Kane's ass with no problem. The last fight was a work. He had to take that beating and take a dive. All right? It's obvious he was just playing with Mark Hunt the whole fucking time. You know, it's easy to just avoid getting hit in the fucking face with that overhand sloppy right, which no problem. JDS, man, this guy is better than most people realize. He couldn't even take a dive because he's that good. You understand? He was supposed to get knocked out. He went all 5 full rounds, man. They were pissed off about that. Trust me. But look, he beats Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt never stood a chance. They fucked with his camp. They fucked with his visa issues, his hotel room, his sleep pattern, everything. They distracted this guy to high heaven. That's just the way it works. Sorry, Mark Hunt, you don't have a full team going behind you. You don't have powerful management. Bad luck. You were outmatched, though, definitely. Hopefully we'll see him again, though. He's a good fighter. I mean, he's fun to watch as far as the heavyweight division goes, but he never stood a chance against JDS. That's the word.
Damn, I don't know if he never stood a chance, but he definitely was outmatched by a quicker Junior Dos Santos who really showed dominance in those first 2 rounds before finishing a fight in the third. You gotta love a guy who knows, even though he'll get the judge's nod, he's definitely going to go for that finish, and he did with that spinning heel kick that finished the fight in the third round. Taking us to the main event, Cain Velasquez taking on Antonio Bigfoot Silva. Ended very similarly to it did last time. A little over a minute into the first round, I believe. 1 minute and 21 seconds. Cain Velasquez with the TKO victory. Cain really ironing down his persona of being that guy that's just going to take you down and beat you the fuck up. And Antonio Silva did cry foul, saying it was an early stoppage. Posting pictures on Twitter of what you can't even really see the strikes, but said, oh, look, this is proof it was strikes to the back of the head. Was it an early stoppage? Were there strikes to the back of the head, or was this just another old-fashioned Cain Velasquez whooping? I think it's more of the latter. Cain Velasquez looks dangerous. I don't know if anyone can stop him. I don't know if even Junior Dos Santos can stop him the third time around. We will talk about that fight a little later, but what did you think of the fight, and was it an early stoppage? Sugar Ray Thompson.
It was even more one-sided than the first fight, if that was possible. I suppose the only difference was in this fight, he didn't take him down and do it. He knocked him down with punches and then did it. Where I think in the first fight, he actually took him down off a kick, if I remember rightly, or a lazy punch and got the takedown. But Cain Velasquez is a whole new league above Bigfoot. Bigfoot definitely earned the fight. I said that going in. He definitely proved his worth. You know, the win over Alistair Overeem was mega impressive, but it just shows you how the UFC heavyweights, they're another league above the heavyweights outside the UFC. You know, we thought Alistair Overeem was elite, but we now see that he's not elite. Obviously, Bigfoot just got completely dominated. Daniel Cormier didn't look that impressive in his debut. But yeah, Cain, it was easy for Cain. He just cruised it. Cain JDS 3, that fight interests the hell out of me because the two fights were so different. You got the quick knockout from JDS and then the clear domination from Cain. In a way, I suppose you want the clear domination because you're going to go in as a heavily favourite, but I'd be picking Cain to win that fight. I think it will be a fantastic fight, and no, I don't think it was an early stoppage.
I completely agree with everything that Ray just said. No, hell no, fuck no. Completely not an early stoppage. Bigfoot wasn't going anywhere. Back of the head punches, maybe one or two might have strayed, but the thing with back of the head punches, like if you're already committed to throwing the punch, if the punch is already, you know, in its way, and then they turn their head trying to defend and it hits illegally, I don't think that should be an illegal shot. I mean, they caused you to hit the illegal spot. I mean, what's the deal? But yeah, I mean, I didn't see that fight. Everybody picked that fight correctly, pretty much. I didn't really see anybody saying that Bigfoot was going to take it unless they were just BSing. As for Cain and JDS 3, again, got to side with Ray. I can't really see what JDS can do other than land a big shot. And supposedly he did have a lot of problems, personal problems in his life coming up to the last fight. But even so, I still just don't think he has what it takes to take Cain out, other than just landing a big punch. And I think Cain is just getting better and better each fight. And he knows Junior's game. He knows what he has. And I think he'll take another decision this time around.
Yeah, the Cain versus Bigfoot fight fucking went according to the plan, according to what everybody would have predicted if you had to make an educated guess. And, of course, it plays into the UFC's hands. No problem at all. The funny part is that Bigfoot is starting to, you can take one look at Bigfoot Silva, and he's not a Sherlock Holmes here. He's not Albert Einstein, but even he's starting to do the math here. He knows something was fishy about the fight, and I'll tell you what it was. Barring a one-punch freak knockout of Cain Velasquez, Antonio Silva was not going to win this fight. He was not going to win a decision, and the ref was going to stop the fight at the first time he got dropped, right, people? And that's exactly what you saw. That's how it goes, man. You got to put Cain over. The UFC just announced today that there's going to be an entirely new cable channel, actually publicly available national channel in Mexico, a UFC channel in Mexico exclusively. And, I don't know. I guess it's just a miracle and coincidence that the current champion of the heavyweight division is Mexican and he just won. No problem. Early stoppage, yep. Sorry, Bigfoot, but you know who you're dealing with. Don't even try to complain anymore. That's the word on the street.
Word on the street. Moving on, talking about that fight. We know what's next for Cain. What is next for Mr. Bigfoot Silva? Man, I'm thinking of those top-tier heavyweights who've lost recently. We know he'll probably get somebody who has recently lost. You got Frank Mir coming. Or no, Frank's actually going to be fighting Barnett. Maybe a fight against Mark Hunt, who lost on the same card. You're going to have a couple of heavyweight fights this month. Or actually, no, that Brown Overeem fight's in August. But maybe the loser of Fabricio Verdum and Big Nog. A couple possible fights, but I don't think Silva's going to have an easy road back to a title shot. And how handily Cain beat him the last two times. I don't know if we'll ever see him get a title fight again, if Cain Velasquez is able to hold on to the belt. What do you guys think is next for Bigfoot Silva?
I'd give him the loser of either the loser of Nelson versus Miocic, or give him Stefan Struve.
Oh, man, Overeem going to want his rematch eventually. He won't be cocky this time. He should have won that fight. If I'm Overeem, That's probably the biggest money fight on the table at this point after his next one. But you know what I mean? The rematch, he's got it. He's got to take his name back, and I hope he does it. That's my best guess.
I gotta agree with Ray. I like the Mark Hunt fight. I also think Stephen Struve wouldn't be a bad fight for Bigfoot at this point in time. But I would also like to see the Overeem rematch. To see how that fight really should have happened, how it really should have ended. With Overeem viciously kneeing Bigfoot's big head into the ground.
Bigfoot's big head. We don't know what's going to be next for Bigfoot, like I mentioned, but the next heavyweight championship will be the trilogy fight, the rubber match between Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos. What do you guys think happens? The first fight ended pretty handily. I think it was over in 66 seconds. But unless Junior can land that stunner, that shocker right hand, I don't think he has a chance. Cain Velasquez is going to do exactly what he did in the second fight. I don't think Junior's takedown defense is good enough to hold off the Cain Velasquez takedown as long as his knee isn't hurt like it was in the first fight. I got Cain all the way in the trilogy.
I think the second fight is more likely how it's going to go, not the first fight. I think Cain looks on another level. It's not just who he's beating, it's how he beats them. Apart from that one slip up against JDS, I've never seen him in trouble in any fight. He just seems to be in control from start to finish. And he seems to smash whoever he faces. So I think he'll get the win again, but I think this time he'll get a stoppage. I don't see JDS being able to take 5 rounds of that again. I mean, that last fight between them, he brutalised JDS.
Junior Dos Santos is the greatest heavyweight fighter technically on the planet at this moment. Sorry, people, and I'm sorry for Junior because, look, this news about the UFC channel in Mexico, guys, look, I can read between the lines. I can do the math. Cain's going to win the third fight. He's going to win the rubber match. Dos Santos is going to take another dive for the company. He is a company man. He did it once. Why not do it again? So that's what's going to happen, and it's sad to see because I know for a fact that Junior whoops his ass 9.9 times out of 10. That's the fucking word on the street.
Yeah, I got to go Cain all the way. I don't think Cain will be able to finish him. I don't see a finish. I think JDS is resilient enough to take another 5-round beating, regardless of Ray's opinion. I don't see Junior being able to get that one shot that he needs in on Cain like he did in the first fight. Cain all the way.
Cain all the way. I think all of us agree that Velasquez is a very, very impressive UFC champion. He did lose his belt to Junior at that UFC on Fox 1 card, but it will be interesting to see who wins the rubber match between the two and what the future holds for that guy. You rarely ever see a matchup between two guys go 3 fights. I don't know if one's ever done 4 fights, but I mean, we really might see these two guys fight 4 times. I don't think this is necessarily has to be the last time they fight because you look at everyone in the heavyweight division. These two guys are in a league of their own. They're in their own tier. And I think, whoever loses is going to have a very good possibility of rising back to the heavyweight championship. This is kind of a unique situation we haven't seen very often, and we'll see how it plays out over the next couple of years, but they will be fighting again this year some point for the heavyweight championship. Let's move to the bonehead of the week before we get to the news.
Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do.
Alright, my bonehead of the week this week, it's pretty easy. It's Reza Madidi, however the fuck you say his name. I know Jay is a big fan of him, but you know what? I think I realized why Jay's a big fan of him. Because he is a cheater. He wants to cheat at society. He wants to try and rob people. I didn't read the whole story, but I just saw Reza Madidi popped for burglary or robbery or some kind of bullshit. These people are scum. I've got to say, if you want to steal from hardworking people what they've earned, Reza might be a good guy, but people who do stuff like that don't, I have no sympathy for them. There are people who are serving time who I do have do have a lot of sympathy for. Rosenthal. But Reza Medidi, he'll serve his time. I don't know how much time he's gonna serve. I didn't even want to look at it because it makes me sick. I hope I never see his face in the UFC again. Reza Medidi, you're my bonehead of the week. Ramses?
My fucking bonehead of the week is an MMA amateur journalist by the name of Eric Holden. That's right, at Eric Holden on Twitter. That's the only plug he's ever gonna get out of my ass. This guy, he is a creeper. Basically what he does is, every article he writes is about women's MMA, basically. And he interviews them, but that's just a cover. This guy is apparently some sort of freak or pervert. What he really does, he's just trolling, man. He's always lurking. He's a creeper people, perversion. He was bothering these, lesbian MMA fighters. I don't even know their fucking names. But basically, he interviewed them, and then, he started sending harassing text messages. Well, lewd text messages at first, but it got ridiculous. You can look this up all online. It gives amateur, no-name MMA journalists like myself a bad reputation seeing people like this do this. God damn it. So I'm saying, this guy's got to go. He's got to stop, or at least people realize what he's doing. Every article is about, just women's MMA tied to sex appeal. It's obvious he's just going for hits, and viewership. This guy stinks. He is a creeper. Women, of course, should never be objectified. They should be respected. And I am, of course, leading the way of that movement. I'm all about respecting females. I love them. I'm currently single. If you're out there, hit me up on the Twitter, The Aunt Jimmy Show. That's the word on the street.
If you're going to hit him up, though, DM him. He doesn't want his missus to see the messages. He
might be single, but he's got a few Twitter girlfriends. Sorry.
Mine's going to be Waylon Lowe. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to read this headline to you, and I don't think you'll need any more. MMA fighter says sex gel ruined his penis. Why on earth would you go public with that? Keep it to yourself. So my bonehead is Waylon Lowe for probably not being able to get a bone.
Yeah, you're literally talking boneheads.
If I would have thought quicker, I would have definitely stole that one before Ray got a hold of it. I completely forgotten about that headline when I read it. But my bonehead of the week has to go to Bigfoot Silva for the comments about early stoppage, back of the head punches, yada yada. It seems like every time this guy loses, it's another excuse. It was an early stoppage, it was illegal shots, whatever. I mean, dude, you're just ruining your reputation. You're making yourself out like a bitch. Just take the loss, come back, fight harder. That's it.
Yeah, all three of these boneheads I got to pick from are all pretty solid. But, I got to go with Eric Holden simply because Waylon Lowe, you shouldn't, who's bragging about that, but at the same time, I can't really hate on a guy who's gone through so much hardship in his life. As far as Bigfoot Silva, fighters have been making excuses, especially, it seems recently, between the Diaz brothers, and it seems like every other person who takes a loss, they got some bullshit excuse to pull out of left field. So I'm almost numb to that now. But as an amateur, MMA reporter like all of us are, and I know all of us have come into contact with fighters, and we're nothing but professional with them and good with them. Why? Are we trying to suck up to them? No, but they're spending their time. They're going out of their way for us. None of us have ever paid any fighter to come on their show. They all do it out of the kindness of their heart. So to say, to harass people who are literally the ones who give us the chance to do this, Eric Holden, you're a fuck up and you're my bonehead.
Well put, Jake, from the MMA podcast.
MMApodcast.com.
Exactly. Check it out, people. Yeah, my bonehead of the week, I have to agree. The dude, I don't even remember his name. The dude put the dick numbing gel on himself and mutilated his own junk. That is ridiculous. How do you even not wash that shit off the moment it starts stinging? And furthermore, look, people, I've never had sex. I've never touched a woman. I've never, I've never kissed a girl. But I can tell you this: I know enough to know about sex that when you're doing it, if you put numbing shit on your dick and then insert that into a woman, hang on, it's just pure speculation on my part. But if you put numbing dick gel on yourself and then insert that into a woman, the gel's gonna numb her up too, therefore negating the entire purpose. Yeah, you want to last long, you want to be a stud, you're gonna go forever. I'm sorry, this is a family podcast, I apologize, but I'm just saying it numbs the girl up too. So what's the whole damn point? This guy is the bonehead of the week.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, Ramses, I've never had sex either, but once I started listening to the word on the street, my life changed.
Yep.
My bonehead of the week is going to be raising my daddy. I don't know this whole story, but if he's been arrested for committing crimes, then for me that makes him a bonehead. So I'm going to be voting for Razor.
Let me give you virgins some insight. With the dick numbing gel, usually you put the gel on and then you put a condom over it so it doesn't numb the female. Just a little bit of FYI for you. But yeah, I got to go with Waylon Lowe as well. That guy's just a complete fuckhead. I mean, why could you? What was that?
What's a condom?
Sex 101. We're gonna have to go to health class, bro.
Right.
But yeah, Waylon Lowe is my pick for Bonehead of the Week. I mean, no competition.
Yo, we got the Travis Fulton of Dick Numbing Cream on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Follow him on Twitter at, what is your Twitter again? MMA Rico 1990?
Rico MMA 1990. Yeah,
Rico MMA 1990 for Dick Numbing Gel tips from the MMA Troll. Check it out.
Can I say something? If you're wearing a condom, unfollow me on Twitter. I don't want to do business with you people. All right? Give me a break. Condoms.
If you ever wear condoms, unfollow the Aunt Jimmy Show on Twitter. But hey, go ahead and give MMA Mental and the MMA Podcast a follow, because we need to shout all of our shits out. If you like to wear condoms, I don't know if I can get behind that.
It's like
Ray
going
is
into
a good
a
old
street fight, man. It's like going into a street fight wearing headgear. Come on, give me a fucking break.
Yo, Ray thinks you gotta wear seatbelts, you can't smoke weed, and you gotta wear condoms. So follow MMA Mental if you like to wear condoms. And that is the Bonehead of the Week, Waylon Lowe, literally bringing the literal spirit of Bonehead of the Week to the show. He is our Bonehead with 2 votes for him, 1 for Reza and Eric Holden. And we will move on to the news, starting off with probably the biggest news of the week. This upcoming season of Tough, it's going to be a historical one for many reasons. With the introduction of women's MMA into the UFC, we're seeing the first female cast. It's going to be a co-ed cast, half female, half male, both bantamweights, and we're going to see the first female coaches. Kat Zingano absolutely mauled Miesha Tate to earn her spot opposite Ronda Rousey on the show, but she's pulling out with an injury, and Miesha Tate will replace her. There already have been barbs back and forth. Ronda and Miesha are not obviously on that good of terms with each other. They fought before, which, it will make for a more interesting season, trash talk-wise, because Ronda and Zingano seem to be getting along well. The only interaction I'd seen between the two is Kat asking if she could get the later training time so she could take care of her kid, or the earlier one so she could go home and take care of her kids, and Ronda said it wasn't a problem, so they seem good. But Miesha Tate, we all know about Miesha Tate and Brian Caraway, these two snakes. I used to be a big fan of Miesha Tate. I was backing her up into the Zingano fight, but all this stuff about Miesha pushing off against Zingano's face after that round, and this whole Caraway Gate situation really turns me off to him. Not literally, though, because Miesha Tate definitely turns me on. But it will be a little more interesting trash talk-wise. As far as the fight, I don't think Tate gives Ronda Rousey the kind of challenge that Kat Zingano did, obviously losing to Kat Zingano at that UFC on FX 8 card. But Miesha Tate is one of the two women to bring Ronda Rousey outside of a minute. So, Rousey should win the fight, but I don't know if it's, going to be one of these 36-second armbar beatdowns like Ronda Rousey likes to throw down. What do you guys think about the change on the Season of Tough? What do you think about the Season of Tough? What do you think about Tate versus Rousey? Give us your thoughts. What's the word on the street?
The Ultimate Fighter Season 18, the women's season, debuting on the new Fox Sports 1 channel, people. I hate to be that guy again, except I love it. That's my whole gimmick here. But yes, it is work. It's conspiracy. I'll just ask one question of all of you right now. Does anyone out there think for 1 second that looks had nothing to do with this decision? Anybody out there going to argue that?
I was gonna mention that, look, the sport of MMA has two different kinds of fans. There are your fans that are, really into the sport, like the four of us. We're going to watch The Ultimate Fighter, whether or not the coaches are sexy, whether or not anything. They don't need to sell The Ultimate Fighter to us. We're going to watch it either way. They don't need to market pay-per-views to us because we already know about them. There's no point in them marketing to our demographic. The demographic they do want to market to is the mainstream fan. The NFL fan, they pop up ads for the UFC for during games. The NASCAR fan. And how are you going to sell women's MMA to that fan? Hey, I know. How about two smoking hot bitches who are going to be throwing down? I'm usually the one calling out Ramses. I'm the cynic. I don't agree with most of his work calls, but when I heard about this, I don't know if the UFC's paying off Zingano. I don't know what's going on. Maybe she really did get hurt. But either way, the UFC and Dana White are much, much happier with Rousey versus Tate. Ronda Rousey even said this is what was supposed to happen, quote unquote, sort of insinuating that the UFC wanted Tate and Rousey in the rematch fight. There's bad blood, and they are a couple of smoking hot bitches who are going to be throwing down. I think Ray's still dropping off a deuce, taking a big old poop. But, Eric, what's going on with you? What do you think about the sex appeal built in to this season of The Ultimate Fighter?
Definitely, man. I completely agree with both you and Ramses. Definitely, they have to be much happier with the way things have worked out. As for Kat Zingano, the only thing that I have to say about that is going to be regarding Brian Caraway. 2 words. Tonya Harding. I guarantee that he had something to do with her knee going bum out like that. He straight up Tonya Harding there. He straight up Tonya Harding that girl somewhere. She was walking down a hallway, and he popped out and bashed her knee with a lead pipe something. And now he's in the hospital having to get surgery, such and such. But definitely, and by the way, this season of Ultimate Fighter is not only just women, but it's women and men in the same tough house. Somebody's going to end up pregnant. I guarantee it. My thoughts.
Will we see the first baby conceived in the tough house? Ramses, do you have any more thoughts on it?
Well, I don't know, man. Obviously, everyone's going to be exercising birth control, and it doesn't, when everybody's juicing up, doesn't that actually lower your sperm count? I think the odds of 2 fighters in training successfully producing is pretty low. Just given what they go through. But you never know, man. If the ratings start to slide midway through the season, you're going to have to blow a load somewhere. Pay off some cute fighter. There's plenty of them. I've seen pictures of most of the tough women fighting. And, there aren't going to be any big Berthas, trust me. This thing is heading in the right direction as far as I'm concerned. God bless the UFC.
Hell yeah, we will see if any of these women bantamweights get a homemade injection of TRT in the tough hot tub or anything like that. Moving on, Ramses, to your favorite fighter, Anderson Silva. It's rumored that he has a rib injury very similarly to the one he suffered from before the Chael Sonnen fight. We all remember from the documentary Like Water. That was really the main focus of it, that Anderson was injured still going into this fight. I don't know if he fights, if he has a tendency to break his ribs, but I know it's happened to him before. The Silva camp and Dana White are denying these claims, which obviously you would expect them to, whether he does have a broken rib or not. They want to sell the fight. They're not going to cancel this fight. This is their July 4th fight, and it's too late to really fill it in with anything as good as Silva versus Weidman. And they also don't want to be given the perception of knowing that a guy's injured and putting an injured guy into the ring, especially in the day and age of concussions. Organizations are really being tasked with the responsibility to keep their fighters healthy. So if Dana White, if he admitted he knew about this rib injury and he was still making him fight on the July 4th card, he would get a lot of criticism for that. So, of course, they are denying these claims, but there are reports coming out of Brazil. No one really knows the depth of the injury, but this report, I don't have his name in front of me, but he does seem very sure that Silva's rib is injured. Are you buying into it? And if so, do you think it's going to play a factor in the Weidman fight? Eric?
Well, I mean, it has happened before. He does seem to be injuring his ribs a lot lately, and I agree with you. Like, why wouldn't they deny the rumor? I mean, they have a lot to lose. I mean, if Anderson comes out and loses, that's going to be thrown out as an excuse, which it still will be if he does lose. Everybody will be saying, "Oh, there was the rumor about him having a broke rib. He wasn't 100%, yada yada yada." But I'm going to go with. We'll say Anderson Silva, 5th round triangle choke.
You're bringing up bad memories for one member on the panel. Go ahead, Ray.
I know I missed the last topic, so I'm just going to chirp in on that one about Miesha Tate and replacing Kat Zingano. I think it's a shame that she's replaced her in the sense of Kat Zingano obviously won the fight, and their fight was brilliant. But it does make more interesting TV having Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey because of the history between them. And I'm pretty sure that one of Miesha Tate's coaches is going to be Brian Caraway. And we know he's one of the most hated guys at the moment. You only have to listen to you three mention your views on him. And I know that you don't like him. So
I hope he dies.
Here's a coach, and what he said in the past will be interesting. With regard to Anderson Silva, you always hear stuff about injuries, and I don't know whether it's true or not, but if he is injured going to the fight with Weidman, it's definitely going to affect it because you don't want to be fighting Weidman when you're injured because Weidman is a new breed of fighter. If he goes into that fight injured, he'll lose the fight. That's my view.
Interesting. Oh yeah, the fucking Anderson Silva injury reportedly. Look, people. I analyze this just knowing the business, my theories being what they are. Basically, what it looks like to me, if I had to take my best guess, it looks like Anderson's camp is realizing that Chris Weidman isn't going to take a dive. He ain't going to agree to that shit. It's not going to be a work. The kid said no. So, of course, if you're Anderson's camp, what do you start doing? You start putting out little feelers here. This rumor came directly from Brazil. Chris Weidman has no people in Brazil, right? It's not from his camp. This came from Anderson somewhere. It's a leak. They put it out on purpose, and then they immediately denied it. That's a dead giveaway, as Charles Ramsey would say. So why is he putting out this shit rumor? Honestly, best guess, he's setting up an excuse in case he loses, which I believe at this point, especially with this rumor going around, I think he is going to get his ass whooped. He sees it coming. He sees the writing on the wall. He wants to set up that big money rematch. So he is going to start slowly putting out he's going to start putting in people's minds that, he was injured going into the fight, just like he tried to do against the people's champion, Chael Sonnen.
You're talking about a big money rematch, but you got to keep in mind, losing money-wise is the worst thing that could happen, because if he beats Chris Weidman, his next fight is more than likely going to be a super fight against George St. Pierre if he can get by Johnny Hendricks or John Jones or both of them. The super fights is where the real money's at, and in order to get these super fights, he's got to beat Chris Weidman. I honestly think this quote-unquote rib injury is a little bit of sensationalism. It's just one of these amateur journalists just trying to get page views like that Eric Holden guy. I don't know if I really believe it. And I don't think Chris Weidman has a chance in hell. Everybody and their mother is saying that Chris Weidman is going to beat Anderson Silva. I say not so fast. I say Anderson dispatches him in the second round. I think... Weidman is a great fighter, and I do honestly think he's the number 2 fighter in the middleweight class. I think he beats Vitor, even though I think that would be a much closer fight than Anderson Weidman. What have we seen out of Weidman? We saw him beat up Mark Munoz that isn't even in the top 10 anymore. We saw him in a pathetic fight against Damian Maia, who's now a welterweight. What have we seen out of Weidman? Who has Weidman beat other than Mark Munoz? He does have impressive wins on his career, but I don't think it's enough to even get him the title shot. And these people saying he's going to beat Anderson. You're only basing this off of the Chael Sonnen fight. I do think Chael has better wrestling than Chris Weidman. I think Anderson was sort of shocked by, wasn't expecting what Chael did. He is expecting it. He has been training takedown defense like a fiend. I don't know if Weidman's going to be able to dive in there to go for the takedown without suffering a knee to the face. This is going to be a first or second round TKO. Take it to the bank. I was a minute off on the Vitor call. This isn't even going to be close. We will move on, and I know that is an unpopular opinion, but we will move on to Forrest Griffin retiring. I actually recently heard him on Jay Moore's podcast, More Stories. It was pretty entertaining. He was talking about a lot of his fights. Had some really, really funny opinions on a lot of current MMA topics, including Chael Sonnen, John Jones talking about the current champion. He actually did talk a lot about his fight against Anderson Silva. He is a funny, humble guy, and you definitely got to check out that episode of More Stories. But Forrest Griffin, what is his legacy in the UFC? Obviously, he had the Bonner fight that a lot of people feel saved the UFC. They were going to cancel TUF. UFC was kind of in a state of limbo, and that fight really did a lot for the sport. It's pretty much widely considered the most important UFC fight of all time, and it was an exciting one, and both of them ended up getting UFC contracts, and both of them will probably be future UFC Hall of Famers. Forrest Griffin, former champion, he shocked the world when he beat Shogun. What is his legacy that he's leaving in the UFC, Ray?
I'm a huge fan of Forrest Griffin. I remember watching UFC before Ultimate Fighter 1, so I remember that season. He had the win through. He won his way into the final. He nearly had to pull out the semi-final because of a cut. And then, of course, the final with him and Bonner was just absolutely... It was just amazing to watch that fight and the way it played out. Yeah, it was mental. It was amazing to watch the way it played out. It's like it was destined to be. I mean, there's not much else going to be remembered from that particular card. It was the fight where Shamrock and Franklin fought. Sanchez won his final really easily. It was very much a one-sided fight against Ken Flo. And then you got Griffin and Bonner, which was just absolutely epic. But then moving on, I mean, his legacy's gone on to become more than that. He's got the 3-fight series with Tito Ortiz. They were pretty good fights. His win over Rampage when he coached against Rampage and then pulled off the upset and took the title off Rampage. Then, of course, went on to lose to Rashad Evans. His fight against Shogun was just amazing. I mean, no one gave him a chance in that fight. It was a pride standout, a pride veteran versus this tougher, this guy that had come from the Ultimate Fighter. This guy didn't even belong in the UFC. That's what people were saying. And he came in, and he didn't just beat Shogun. I mean, he out-grappled him, he hung in there with the striking, and then when he sunk that choke in, it was just fantastic. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of Griffin, and he leaves a great legacy behind, and I hope he does get a Hall of Famer. I can see why they'd give it to Bonner as well, but I think Griffin's a lot more in the UFC than what Bonner has. And I'm sad to see him retiring, but at the same time, I'm going to look back and I've seen every single one of his UFC fights, and I've seen them all with great memories, and I've always enjoyed watching him fight.
MMA Mental. Am I late?
MMA Mental.
All right. Yeah. Griffin, man, God bless him. Love him to death. He blocked me on Twitter a long time ago. He agreed to fight my son, and so of course I started just making anti-Forrest tweets, but he didn't get he doesn't know it's a work. I actually love the guy to death. He's He's probably one of my favorite personalities as far as MMA goes, man. He's a good guy. Everybody knows it. What is it? He volunteers and he like helps homeless kids with AIDS in Africa like every other hour, something like that. God bless him. Sad to see him go, but it was time. That last fight against Tito Ortiz was an embarrassment at UFC 148, and because of their dumbasses, Chael Sonnen slipped on his fucking blood or sweat or something and lost the fight to Anderson Silva. But yeah, putting that aside, Forrest Griffin, man, good guy. Maybe now he was getting pretty punchy. Hopefully they'll be able to reverse that shit. He can start reading some books again, or I don't know, and maybe stop talking like me with the fucking marbles in his mouth. What the fuck's up with that? That's the word on the street.
In my opinion, I've always been a huge fan of Forrest Griffin ever since. Like Ray said, I've watched his fight since even before the Ultimate Fighter. He went through the Ultimate Fighter house and had that complete barn burner with Stephan Bonner at the finale, which was kind of a turning point for the UFC. They've said that they weren't in the best standings at the time, money wise, and just everybody around the world was tuning in to watch that fight, just calling their friends, calling their moms, wives, brothers, whatever. You got to turn this on and watch these two white boys beat the absolute shit out of each other. It's amazing. That was just a hell of a fight. The second fight was good just as well. And then coaching gets Rampage again on the Ultimate Fighter, and then stealing the title from him in what some believe was a controversial fight. Some people thought he didn't deserve the win, but nonetheless, he still got the title and caused Rampage to go on a rampage himself and go on a tirade and kill a couple unborn children, such and such. And then, before, like Ramsey said, he was getting a bit punchy. His chin didn't look to be as good as it once was. So I do believe the time is right, and I would absolutely love to see him be in the Hall of Fame. And also, if you haven't picked up his books, Got Fight and Be Ready When the Shit Goes Down, you have to pick up the books. He's absolutely hilarious guy and one of my favorite personalities in MMA as well.
Hell yeah, Forrest Griffin will be around for a while. We haven't heard the last of him. The UFC knows he is a valuable commodity. I don't know if we'll see him announcing fights or anything, but Forrest will forever be a part of the fabric of the UFC, mainly because of that tough one finale fight. Before we get to Guess That Tweet, one more topic. Roy Nelson and Stipe Miocic scheduled for UFC 151. Nelson was getting ready just in case Hunt was not going to be able to make it. He was getting ready for a potential fight against Junior Dos Santos, and he's probably thankful that he didn't have to walk in to that Lion's Den. Junior Dos Santos looked incredible, but he will be fighting Stipe at UFC 161. Also, Roy Nelson saying the UFC will never give him a title shot, which I think is a pretty interesting take. I think it's pretty immature. Nelson, look, he's got to know that he is a popular guy, and the UFC would bank on his success. You know what the real problem is? He does beat everyone that's not a top guy, but every time he gets close to the title, he loses. Whether it's losing to Junior Dos Santos at 117, Frank Mir at 130, Fabricio Verdum at 137. He just gets outskilled and outclassed. And, this fight against Stipe, he could win. But once you put a top 5 guy in front of him, they're going to outclass Nelson, in my opinion, because of the speed. Roy's got to understand that in any other league, he could be the heavyweight champion. But at this elite level, you've just got to be quicker, and you can't be carrying around 40, 50 pounds of weight right there in your gut. He is surprisingly athletic for his size. The dude moves around like a cat, considering how big he is. But if he does really want to be serious, if he wants to get a title shot, then he needs to get serious. What do you think of Nelson versus Stipe, and what do you think about his comments?
It's time for the real talk on Roy Nelson, boys. Telling you all about Big Country. There's a weird... Sorry, there's some sort of weird alarm going on here in Austin, Texas. Anyway, I'll get through this. Sorry. The truth about Roy Nelson is he has 3 problems. 3 problems. Number 1, he's fat. Let's be honest. Number 2, Dana White doesn't like him. Number 3, Cain Velasquez has to remain the champion because of the Mexico deal. And there's a damn good chance that Roy Nelson knocks out Cain. They're never going to let it happen. They're never going to let him have a title fight. Roy Nelson is right about this. In fact, he's so dumb, I have to assume that this is actually a direct quote, because he's not smart enough to figure this shit out on his own. So yeah, that's the problem. He's never getting the title shot. And he kind of did it to himself on some level. That's it.
Yeah, in my opinion, Roy probably will never get a title shot, but it's not because the UFC won't give him one. It's because he's not going to earn one. Like you said, Jake, he can beat pretty much anybody in the division at any given time other than like the top 5 guys. The top 5 guys, he just has nothing for. They can see the big overhand right coming. They can stifle him in the clinch and do pretty much whatever they want to with him. He's never, unless he wants to really get serious about being a contender, about being a champion, he's got to drop the weight. He has to drop his signature belly. He can't keep it. He's either going to have to drop it and drop to light heavyweight possibly, or just cut the belly off and bulk up on like muscle and do it that way. But yeah, he's not going to get a title shot, I don't think, anytime soon. And as far as the Miocic fight, I got Nelson first round knockout easily.
Nelson was going to smash Miocic. I mean, Miocic's not in the same league as Nelson, so that's a straightforward fight for Nelson. I think Nelson could get a title fight, but he needs to be a top contender before he gets that fight. I think the fight with Shane Carwin, which is of course a fight we never got to see because Carwin got injured and then Matt Mitrione stepped in, and obviously Carwin's retired now. That would have been an interesting fight to see where Nelson stacked up, because Carwin was obviously considered probably a top 6, top 7 guy at that time. If he beats Miocic, which I think he will, they need to give him a top tier guy. They need to, put him in against someone like Alistair Overeem or maybe Bigfoot. Bigfoot's coming off a loss. Maybe Mark Hunt. He's obviously coming off a loss. But that kind of ranked guy, and if he beats that kind of guy, then I'd say give him a title shot. And I think if he does that, then I think he'll get one, because the fans love watching him, regardless whether Dana White likes him or dislikes him. The fact is, he's an exciting fighter to watch. He doesn't just go in there to win. He goes in there to knock people out. And a lot of time he does knock people out. And who doesn't look forward to watching Roy Nelson fight? I mean, it is great to watch him fight.
Yeah, Nelson is a fan favorite. I also agree. I think he's going to knock the fuck out Stipe Miocic in the first round. But you put one of these guys like a Cain or a JDS in front of him, even a Frank Mir, a Daniel Cormier, I don't think he's able to get over that hump. We do have a few more fight announcements to talk about, including a heavyweight or two. But first and foremost, it is the game show that's sweeping the nation. Jay is not here, so he won't be able to cheat this week. It is Guess That Tweet, and I am hosting this week. You guys ready for some Guess That Tweet fun?
Let's do it.
Go.
Ray, you have anything?
Let's go.
Ray's got... Hell yeah. All right, cocksuckers. The first tweet is all about gay sex. I know y'all are into the gay sex, so this is a tweet about gay sex. And it reads, I'd have gay... Ooh, throwing him out. Throwing it out. All right. This first tweet. And this is regarding, because Ray, I know you might not be familiar with American politics. Rick Perry is the governor of Texas, the state that Ramses lives in. He's very conservative. He's a Bible beater. He doesn't believe in gay sex. He's warming up the electric chairs for anybody trying to jaywalk. And the tweet reads, I would love to have gay sex with Rick Perry. Just for the story. Your 4 candidates are 4 goofballs. Mayhem Miller, Forrest Griffin, Miguel Torres, and Joseph Benavidez.
All right. Well, I do live in Austin, Texas. I have actually met and spoke with Rick Perry on numerous occasions. I'll leave it on that note, but he is not a homosexual, actually. He's actually a very weird person. Very weird human being. It's almost like if you had to guess that like anybody you've ever met in this life was an actual like mechanical robot underneath human skin, he would be my first guess. weird. Like you shake his hand, and it's like you're not meeting a person. It's not real. It's a very odd sensation that I got. If you've ever seen the Stephen King movie with Christopher Walken, where he touches people and he has like those premonitions or whatever.
I'm gonna touch you, and now I have a premonition about you.
That's exactly what happened every time I shake Rick Perry's hand. But I got nothing bad to say about the guy. My guess, though, sorry to get back to it, Mayhem Miller.
I got to agree. I'm going to go ahead and go with Mayhem Miller as well.
I was going to go with Mayhem, but I want to go different than the other two. So what were the other three options? So it was Benavidez, Torres, and Griffin, wasn't it?
Yep.
I'll go for Torres. He's a bit of a dick.
All right. Ray's got Miguel Angel Torres. If it was Forrest or Joseph Benavidez, I would have gotten the point for stumping everybody, but I did not stump everybody. It was Mayhem Miller. And the point goes to Ramses and Eric off of the first question. All right, tweet number 2. I know if I didn't pull you guys in with the gay sex, I'd pull you in with female ovulation. And this tweet reads, "A period is something you don't want to see, but are happy to know it's there." Was it the same 4 guys, Mayhem Miller, Forrest Griffin, Miguel Torres, or Joseph Benavidez?
I'll go for Forrest Griffin.
I think
Eric?
it's Eric, but yeah.
Come on, man. Shit. I'll go Forrest too.
And I will go with Miguel Torres, the man who has the least to lose.
All right, it was not Joseph Benavidez. It was not Miguel Torres. It was not Forrest Griffin. It was another tweet by Mayhem Miller. So it looks like I get the point there. Yeah. All right.
Shit.
Holy shit. And to remind everyone, we got 5 tweets in regulation. If it's tied up, it will go to overtime. All right, tweet number 3. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, same 4 guys you have to choose from. It's going to be a Mayhem, Forrest, Torres, or Benavidez tweet. And it reads, "I'll cut my ear off and eat it for $100,000. Come on, I'll throw in a toe. That's a bargain." Was it Mayhem, Forrest, Torres, or Benavidez?
Oh fuck! I'll go with, just because he's got my ass on block. I'll go with Forrest Griffin because I haven't seen that.
I'm going to go with Torres on this one.
I'm going to go with Mayhem.
All right, I'm not going to get the point. It was not Joseph Benavidez. It was not Torres. Ray, I did not go with Mayhem 3 times in a row. It was Forrest Griffin, the man who has blocked our buddy Ramses. Ramses with 2 points, myself and Eric with 1, Ray with 0, but he still has time to catch up. All right, number 4. This is from a flyweight. I'll let you know, a flyweight tweeted this out, and it reads, "My friend just let me know he didn't have cancer via Snapchat?" ? Which Snapchat is, I guess, this chat thing you can send back pictures back and forth, write stuff, and it's posed as a question, and it says, "My friend just let me know he didn't have cancer via Snapchat?" And your 4 flyweights are John Dodson, Demetrius Johnson, Ian McCall, and Joseph Benavidez.
I'll go for Ian McCall.
I'm going to say the names again.
Dodson, Johnson, McCall, and Benavidez.
I'm going to go Dodson.
I'll also have to go McCall because I don't think I follow him, and it sounds ridiculous. Yeah.
I'm not going to waste any time. You're right. It was Ian McCall. Ray and Ramses get the point. Ramses actually clinches up the victory. Ramses with 3 points. The rest of us with 1. Only 1 more tweet in regulation. So I'll go ahead and put that shit on the board. Ramses with your 5th victory, putting the MMA podcast out to an 18-14 win. We will let you get your moment in the sun, your victory speech in. But let's go ahead and do these last 2 questions just for the shit of it. The same 4 flyweights are your answers here: Dodson, Johnson, McCall, and Benavidez. The tweet reads, LOL, watching the Vanguard doc on the Ku Klux Klan. Fucking rednecks. Dodson, Johnson, McCall, and Benavidez.
I will go with. Holy shit. Benavidez. No. Dodson.
McCall for me.
My first thought was it's got to be someone who's black, so I'm going to go Dodson.
That's racist, and you are punished because of it. It was Ian McCall. It was a white guy. We white people all don't have to support the Ku Klux Klan like you do, Ray. I know you're a Klansman, but that doesn't mean we all need to be. Me, Ramses, and Eric all live in the South, so we know what's up as far as the Klan goes. I'm ashamed of you, Ray. I've never been more ashamed of you in my entire life. Alright, the last tweet. At least once a week, people tweet me pictures of hairless chimps or bears. That's the type of vibe I put out there. Was it Mayhem Miller, Ian McCall, Dan Hardy, or Joe Rogan?
I'll go for Joe Rogan.
I gotta go with Mayhem again.
I also have to go with Joe Rogan because I have tweeted him bear shit before.
And I think I've tweeted him hairless chimp shit before, and it was Joe Rogan putting that out there. I'm sure lots of people send him tons of chimp and bear shit. He has reached incredible success with his podcast, selling out arenas wherever the UFC goes. Ramses with 4 points on the day, Eric with 2, Ray with 2, myself with 1. The floor is yours for your victory speech, buddy.
Yeah, no real victory speech. It's just good to be back in the winning circle. But I just want to say, just to take this opportunity, all these bitches on Twitter, like, stop sending me messages. I understand that you're getting married and that you're nervous about pleasing your future husband. You want to know, you want me to train you. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. I don't have that kind of time. But if you want the latest MMA news and rumors and reports, follow me on Twitter, The Ant Jimmy Show. Thank you.
I will be happy to train you in any sort of sexual art you need to be trained in before your wedding. I actually did train under Ramses for many years before I got my black belt in the Kama Sutra. Don't ask me how you get that black belt, because it's a pretty long story. But Ramses with the victory. He will actually be hosting Guess That Tweet next week. So we'll see if Ramses can become the first host to win it. It is possible. You do get a point if no one picks the correct answer. So dig up some tough tweets. Maybe you can defend your belt. We got 4 more topics, 4 more announcements.
I just want to clarify that you were underneath Ramses.
I think he misspoke a little bit.
I trained underneath Ramses.
Was Ramses behind you?
Well,
I would throw him my leftovers.
On Tuesday nights, he would be on... What? All right.
I'm saying I would toss you my leftovers. That was the training. You got the remnants, the Misha Tates, so to speak.
So to speak. We will move on very quickly. Sort of want to dodge this topic. It's not one that I think myself or Ramses want to talk about. And we are going to talk future fight announcements. We got 4 of them to talk about. Some rumored, some already solid in place. One of those solid fight announcements is Frank Mir and Josh Barnett. Josh Barnett we didn't think was going to be coming to the UFC, but I guess he and Dana maybe had a meeting. They're not all pissy at each other. I don't know what the fuck happened, but Josh Barnett is now a UFC fighter, and he's going to be taking on Frank Mir, a couple of guys who both have powerful stand-up, but even more powerful ground skills. Barnett, a wrestler, Mir, your jiu-jitsu guy, 164. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I really don't know who I want to pick. Mir looked good against Cormier, much better than Josh Barnett did, but stylistically, it's not a bad matchup for the War Master, Josh Barnett. What are your early thoughts on it, Eric?
Personally, this has been a fight that I've always kind of wanted to see, along with like Barnett or Mir and Verdum, or Barnett and Verdum. As far as the fight goes, I was really surprised to see that Barnett had signed with the UFC. I was just talking to a buddy of mine a couple of hours before, talking about that very thing. And a few hours later, I see that he signed with the UFC, and I was pretty stoked about it. Good matchup. I think Barnett will probably be a little too much for Mir. I think Barnett will be able to control him for the most part. Maybe he might get a stoppage. I'm not sure, but for right now, just this early, probably leaning a Barnett decision, but don't hold me to it.
I was surprised to see Barnett and pleased to see Barnett sign with the UFC. Obviously, he left on bad terms last time after he won a title and then he failed a drugs test and it was said he was never going to come back, and he seems to have gone off and been a success wherever he's been. He was big in Pride, big in Strikeforce. But the best fighters are in the UFC, so if he wants to be, considered as one of the best, he needs to be in the UFC. As for the fight for Frank Mir, we obviously know both these guys are very well rounded. They've both got good wrestling, both got good jiu-jitsu, both got good striking. I think Josh Barnett's a better striker than Frank Mir, and I think this fight will play out on the feet. And I think Barnett will get a knockout. I think he'll get a second. I'm going to go round 2 stoppage. I think he'll TKO Frank Mir. I think he's just a bigger version. For me, he's just a bigger version of Frank Mir. So I've got Barnett to win round 2 TKO.
Yeah, I gotta agree, man. Barnett, he's this fucking fight should have happened 8 years ago for one. But Frank Mir, he's done. He's gonna just put Barnett over. He likes to introduce new guys into the UFC these days and just go home with some money. So yeah, Barnett all the way. I'll watch it though. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, it will be a good one. I think all of us agree on that one. Two pretty legendary guys. I mean, these are two guys who are arguably 2 of the top 10 heavyweights of all time. I don't know if I put either guy in my top 5, but both of these guys have had incredible careers, both inside and outside the UFC. Mir's been in the UFC pretty much his whole career. Josh having more experience outside, in organizations over in Japan and in Strikeforce, but it's good to see Barnett in the UFC. He and Mir are both incredibly intelligent when it comes to groundwork. I mean, listening to Mir talk about jiu-jitsu and Josh talk about wrestling, you're really hearing guys that if they gave out PhDs in this, they would be Dr. Mir and Dr. Barnett. Maybe even a future commentating team. We've seen Mir do commentating. We've heard Josh Barnett speak on many different forums inside MMA, the Joe Rogan podcast, and he obviously is pretty articulate and knows what he's talking about. Both of these guys, I'm very excited to see them fight each other. This one is not set in stone. This is a rumor, but it is rumored that Alexander Gustafsson will be John Jones' next opponent. We don't know if Jones is going to be out 6 weeks or 6 months with that busted up toe, so that's probably going to ride pretty heavily with that. If Jones is going to be sidelined the next 6 months, I'm sure all the top contenders, Teixeira, Gustafsson, Machida, they'll all probably fight again before then. But it is rumored that Alexander Gustafsson will be John Jones' next opponent. What do you think about that fight? Gustafsson is pretty interesting the way he fights, very similar to Dominic Cruz. He looks just like a tall, pale, blonde-haired Dominic Cruz as well. Fights similarly, he does have power, but he's not necessarily known for knocking people out. He's known for just having good footwork and being able to box a guy up. I don't think he's going to be able to do that to John Jones. Whether just Jones wants to swarm him with striking or take it to the mat, I think Jones could pick how he wins this fight. I don't think anybody not named Anderson Silva or Daniel Cormier has a shot at John Jones at this point. If Jones does move up to heavyweight, I would love to see him fight Cain Velasquez. But for the time being, these current contenders at 205, not to take away from Lyoto or Gus or Glover, but John Jones is just on another level. What do you guys think about this rumored fight between Gus and John Jones? Sugar Ray?
I think that obviously Gus should have fought in Sweden against Gegard Mousasi, and it was understood if he won that fight, he would get the next title fight. Obviously, that fight didn't come off because of something ridiculous, some silly cut or something, and he got ruled out of the fight when he shouldn't have got ruled out. He seems to me like the obvious. He seems to me like the obvious person to be the next contender. I think like most of the divisions, it doesn't matter who fights the champion in the sense of you always feel the champion's going to defend his title because that's what we're seeing all the time anyway. But yeah, it's not a fight I'm overly pumped for, but there isn't a fight for John Jones at the minute I'm overly pumped for that's from a 205er, unless he goes up to heavyweight or unless he fights Anderson Silva. But yeah, I'm just as happy with that fight than any other fight. I'd have Jones to win. I mean, if Davis could beat Gustafsson, I think Jones would beat Gustafsson. But obviously I'd watch it, but yeah, I'd have Jones to win.
I gotta agree with Ray, man. MMA mental all the way. Yeah, Jones. He's gonna dominate Gustafsson, and it's just not the matchup. Alex, his fights. You watch them. He never has that holy shit moment. You know, he never has those moves. John Jones is full of them. So yeah, Gustafsson. He's gonna get caught at some point. That's my prediction. And honestly, though, on the business side of things, the UFC wouldn't mind if Gustafsson wins. They're moving into his homeland, too. So this will be a shoot. It won't be a work. It'll be a good fight. But Jones is going to catch this guy. Easy.
I'll agree with both Ray and Ramsey's. I don't see Gustafsson being able to do a whole lot with Jones. An interesting fact that I learned from the Shogun fight and Gustafsson, although Gustafsson is, I believe, 6'4", 6'5", he only has a 76 or 77-inch reach. So he's still going to be at like a 7 or 8 inch reach disadvantage against Jones. And I think Jones will just be way too quick and way too good with his wrestling. I see him being able to get Gustafsson down to the ground and probably either get a TKO stoppage early or maybe some kind of choke, a guillotine, or a Doris choke, something like that.
Yeah, he really could do whatever he wanted to him, in my opinion. Another fight that is, it's not even rumored really, but Gegard Mousasi saying he wants to fight Vitor Belfort next. What do you think of that potential fight? I think that would be incredible. Both of these guys are well-versed standing up. I don't think it'd go down to the mat. If it did, I think Vitor would have an advantage on the jiu-jitsu. But I think both of these guys are looking so fierce standing up that they probably will fight. Vitor especially has looked like an absolute monster. But Gegard always has that crisp kickboxing. I'd like to see it. I would give the edge to Vitor Belfort, Bfort, like I just called him. But it makes sense for Gegard to call him out. Belfort's stock is one of the quickest rising stocks in the UFC, rising quicker than his T to E levels. What do you guys think about a potential fight between Gegard and Vitor?
Red alert, people. Incoming work. Didn't Mousasi just have knee surgery, or he's about to? He's injured, and he's calling out Vitor. Sorry, guys, that sets off the warning bells in my fucking head. You don't have to... I can see this coming a mile away. Looks like Mousasi's going to be the next Vitor Belfort opponent to put him over. Let him take the win, probably in his home country, which is the only fucking place Vitor can even fight anymore. Maybe the surgery is not gonna go too well for Mousasi, and he already knows it. He wants to cash in, cash out.
I'll agree. I definitely think middleweight is the better weight class for Gegard Mousasi. I think he's more acclimated there. He's not at a weight or height disadvantage like he would be against most light heavyweights, upper ranked light heavyweights. As for the fight with Belfort, I would like to see. I think it would be a good fight. I would probably lean Belfort in the fight just based off of his prior performances. His speed and accuracy with his hands and now kicks lately. But yeah, I'd like to see it, and I really do hope Mousasi comes back strong after the surgery and drops down the middleweight.
I think on paper this is a really, really good fight. I mean, we obviously haven't seen the best Mousasi in the UFC because his last fight was a very strange fight, with it being a late notice fight. Of course, he went into the fight injured himself. Belfort has been on an absolute tear. I mean, he's pulling out moves that I didn't even know he had in his locker. I knew he was a fast puncher. We've seen that numerous times, but he's gone from head kick to spinning back kick. and he's knocking out. He's not just beating welterweights, and he's not just knocking out welterweights. He's beating and knocking out the top welterweights. I mean, Balfour, Bisping, and Rockhold are two of the top guys in the division, and he made them look like they didn't belong, and they certainly do belong. So a fight with Mousasi, I'd be really, really excited for that fight. I hope it happens.
As do I think most of the MMA community. That would be a wonderful fight. Last fight announcement before we wrap a bow around this bitch. Alistair Overeem and Travis Brown. It was rumored, now it's official. UFC on Fox Sports 1. The two heavyweights will step into the cage, both reeling from losses against Bigfoot Silva. Reem putting his arm down, getting touched by the big Brazilian. Travis Brown tearing his knee to shreds after misstepping on the octagon. Both kind of freak finishes that did propel Bigfoot to a title shot. Now the two will face each other at UFC on Fox Sports 1. I think Overeem was getting cocky. I think the TRT was getting to his head. I thought, he was like, I and the rest of the MMA community thought he was dumb and a little bit too cocky, putting his hands down against Bigfoot. He's not going to do it again. Overeem, as long as he's still eating that horse meat mixed up with the TRT and those shakes, kale, horse meat, and TRT, they call it the Overeem, mix it up in a Vitamix blender. As long as he's still taking those shakes, he's going to have no problem with Travis Brown. I do believe in Travis Brown. I think he's a top 10, maybe even a top 5 or 6 heavyweight, but Alistair Overeem is just something else. I think he is the number 3 guy in that division behind Kane and JDS. I think we will see him fight for a title shot in the next year, and I have him beating Travis Brown. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm pretty excited about the matchup. I actually called it. I was talking to one of my buddies on the phone, and he was asking me who I thought Reem should fight next, and I mentioned Travis Brown. And then a couple of days later, it's rumored. Now it's official for Fox Sports 1. And I believe I forgot to mention it earlier when we was talking about the T.J. Grant Benson Henderson fight, but somebody sent me a poster to the MMA Troll, and supposedly the Henderson and Grant fight may be headlining that Fox Sports 1 card. Just a little information there. But as for Reem and Brown,
inside info.
Yeah, inside info from the MMA Troll. As for Reem and Brown, I was pretty disappointed with Reem, dropping his hands in the Bigfoot fight. I was screaming at my television while I was watching, get your fucking hands up. What are you doing? You're going to get clipped. Because Reem hasn't showed a very good chin, ever since, he's been in the sport of MMA. And as for Brown, I think he's kind of like you said earlier about, I don't recall who we were talking about, but he's kind of like a heavyweight Dominic Cruz as well. He likes to bounce around a lot and work angles, but he keeps his hands really low. And I think Overeem will be able to catch him at some point and finish the fight. Hopefully we get to see some of his patented Uber knees in this fight that we got to see in the Brock Lesnar fight. Hopefully he catches Brown with a couple of those and puts them away.
Hey, the MMA Troll, are you from Alabama or Texas? What's going on
Virginia.
West Virginia. Holy shit! All right, I was trying to place it the whole time. It was bothering me. Overeem Brown. Look, this is a weird situation for Overeem. It's kind of odd. Basically, if he loses a fight to Travis Brown, he's going to be reduced to bum status. But if he wins, he's right back in there, in another title fight. That's the weird thing about the heavyweight division in the UFC. It is kind of a joke, but he is the fan favorite. This one should be a layup fight for him. Travis Brown did fuck up his knee trying to do spin shit against Bigfoot. I rewatched that fight the other day. It's preposterous. You can actually, he starts trying to dance around like he's Michael Jackson in the octagon. Anyway, Reem should take this one easy. They're probably even going to have Travis Brown just kind of dive on this one. That's my early thought here, but I don't have the word on the street on it yet. But God bless Overeem. He's back to eating horse meat. He's even eating children right now. That is the word. Thank you.
Ramses did cut off Ray there, and in the spirit of cutting off Ray, I'm also going to cut off. I'm also going to cut off Ray really quick. I actually, the guy you were thinking about, I was talking about, Eric, was Gustafsson. And talking about Brown, I actually, when I was in Biloxi recently, I was watching Travis Brown fight Ben Rothwell on Fuel. They were showing a repeat of it, and I almost got the guy to bet me $5 that Rothwell was going to win the fight over Travis Brown, which made me realize there is money in this for the big MMA fans out there. Go to bars and ask them to put on Fuel or FX during repeat showings of fights, and then find the poor drunk motherfucker and hustle him out of a few dollars before every fight comes on. Oh, these two guys are fighting. Who do you think's gonna win? And just bet it off that. Make a few dollars. Don't win them all. Don't make it obvious. But hustle a few bucks out of someone at a bar next time they're showing old UFC fights. Ray, you got skipped. But your take will be the final take of the night before we wrap it up. And I know it'll be a good one. It's all you.
Right, firstly, I wanted to disagree with something that Jakey said. There's no way Brown is a top 5 or top 7 or even top 10 heavyweight. I mean, for me, the guy hasn't done enough to be top 10. Nowhere near, in my opinion. And there's no way Reem's top 3. He was a top 3 up until he showed up in the fight against Bigfoot and basically put his hands down and stuck his chin out. Once, to be the man, you've got to beat the man. So once he loses that fight, he falls down the rankings. So he's not top 3 anymore. He's got to work his way back up to that position. This does seem like a gimme fight. If he doesn't, but then so did his last fight. If he doesn't win this fight, then the Alistair Overeem bandwagon truly will be burst. I mean, his last fight against Bigfoot was an absolute shocker. He can't lose to Travis Brown. I mean, Travis Brown isn't that good. Alistair Overeem should annihilate Travis Brown, and he shouldn't even make it out the second round, to be honest with you. I'd even go as far to say, if this fight makes it to the second round, then the bandwagon's burst. Forget losing. And I don't think it needs to be a work, this one, because if he needs to work this fight to get a win, then he really doesn't belong.
Powerful words by the powerful Sugar Ray Thompson. Like I mentioned, that was the last take of the evening. Thank you so much for tuning in to the MMA Roundtable. Once again, this show is every Thursday, 5 to 7 Eastern, 2 to 4 Pacific, 10 to midnight in the UK. Ray, it's getting late over there in the UK, but tell us a little bit about MMA Mental. Where can we find you? Who are you having on soon? What's the word?
Okay, follow us on Twitter at MMA Mental. We've had the most guests I've had recently have been more regional guests. We've been speaking to a couple of our XFC fights do on a regular basis, and as I provided commentary for Cage Contender, I've contacted a few of the guys off that card, and they've been on the show as well. Nothing really big lined up in the immediate future, but for me personally, I am now officially a commentator. That is my new line of work, I'm proud to say. So I'll be working with Cage Contender now for at least the next 5 events I've been guaranteed, and that promotion's on TV as well. So if you're listening in the UK, that's on on Sky Channel 4 to 8, and that's going to be on Friday at 8:30. So check that out.
That voice could put a baby to bed. It could seduce any lady. I'm not surprised at all. You're a commentary guy now. And other than your voice, you really know what you're talking about. I mean, I've talked to you pretty in depth. You not only know the moves coming up, but you got a database. You got a strength. You've got shit going. You know your MMA shit, and I'm so happy because more than anything else, it really couldn't happen to a nicer person. If you don't know Ray, he is really one of the coolest, kindest people you ever will come into contact with, and I'm really glad it's happening to you, buddy. Also, check out MMA Mental. Jay isn't here. He's not cheating on this podcast, but if you want to listen to his podcast, that's The Early Stoppage. That's always a pretty fun podcast. It's short, 30, 40 minutes, easy to swallow. No pun intended. Probably matches up in real life for Jay, but Ramses, what's the word on the street?
Yeah, thanks, man. Look, people, I got a really touching tweet the other day. Dude's 23 years old. He sends me one tweet. He says, "This is the first time I've ever tried to write." He said, "I learned how to read and write. I was illiterate until now. I learned how to read and write for the sole purpose of following you on Twitter. The Ant Jimmy Show on Twitter. Changing lives. Using MMA to do it every day." Word on the street.
Where can we find you, Eric, a.k.a. the MMA Troll?
Yeah, just follow me on Facebook at the MMA Troll. Follow me on Twitter, Rico MMA 1990. I'm also in the works of creating a new page on Facebook. Haven't got all the issues sorted out yet, but keep your eyes peeled for that. Also, shout out to Ray for the MMA Mental and doing big things over in the UK, getting the commentating position. That's some good shit, man. Also, shout out to Jay. He's probably listening somewhere. Thanks for having me on his podcast last week, a couple days ago. He had me on the Early Stoppage podcast. A lot of fun. And also check out MMAlinker.com if you haven't been there yet.
Our boy Eric, he's literally the most famous person to ever come out of the state of West Virginia. He's doing big things with the Troll. Follow us on Twitter, the MMA Podcast, themmapodcast.com. Listen to the show every Friday. Thank you once again for tuning in. We couldn't do it without you. Until next week, we gone.